Heyo, what's up? What's up? Welcome back to the second iteration of the Resolve and Fusion beginner course. I see Pixelmate and Kanhenb 23 is here. Thanks for joining, guys. Yeah, today we're just gonna go through all the basics you need to know about Resolve and the built-in Fusion page to get going, yeah, to like composite and edit your visual effects and your 3D animations. Yeah, I mean, if you don't know about Fusion yet, let me just like show you a little bit what it's about. If we're here on the Fusion homepage, we will very quickly see that it can do almost anything. Like it says here, Hollywood's #1 post solution. And I don't know if it's really true, but it's definitely catching up. It's definitely becoming #1 because you can do almost everything in Resolve. You have multi-user collaboration, so you can work in the same project at the same time with a lot of people, either through a local network or through the cloud, through the internet. Yeah, you have like all in one. You have, I mean, media. That's not really a feature, but like you have your media pool, cut page, edit page, fusion, color, flare light, and deliver. So these are almost all the kind of like workflows you need in a movie production, right? Fusion is also what we're going to focus a little bit more on today, which is for visual effects and 3D animation. Color is for color grading, which is, I think, where Resolve started in. Resolve started as a color grading program, so the color page is also really, really good. If you want to do some color grading, yeah, Resolve is the #1 choice. And Fairlight is actually an audio editing suite, so you can... Yeah, I've heard of people creating music in Fairlight, in Resolve, because it is pretty solid. It has like VST plugins, and I don't think it's got BPM and stuff like that, but yeah, you can definitely edit audio really well in here. So editing, cutting, color, fusion, Fairlight, that's all that stuff, Resolve effects. Oh yeah, it's also got some neural engine stuff now, which really helps with rotoscoping and detecting faces and translating or like creating subtitles. So yeah, all that stuff is really, really useful. I guess this stuff is not so useful anymore, or not so important for us. And yeah, if you want to get it, there's just this big free download button here. So you can just get, yeah, whatever version you want. The normal DaVinci Resolve 19 version is free, completely free to use. And then the studio version is paid. I think it costs like 350 euros, but like you only pay it once and then you have it your whole life. So it's definitely worth the investment. And as you can see, it also runs on any platform, Linux, Mac, Windows. So yeah, very, very good. And it's also available on tablets, actually, on the iPad. Yep, it's pretty crazy. Let me see who's here in the chat. Keanu is also back. Nice. Saumya is here. Hey. All right. Theodore is also here. Nice, nice. All right, guys. I'm gonna switch over to Resolve now, and I'll show you how to get started. All right. So the first thing when you start Resolve is that you, have this project window here. And this is basically where all your projects are shown, right? If you start a new project, it will just be in this list. And you also have these tabs up here, local, network, and cloud. Local is just on your local PC, right? And you also have different databases. I personally don't create different databases. I guess you could create a new database for, different projects, right? So if I worked... I don't know, if I have my Calva School projects on my local PC, I can just like create a Calva School database. Wait, what's that? Host, create, connect. Okay, no, this is something else. Okay, but yeah, you don't need to worry about this basically. You can just close it. Yeah, so you have your list of projects here. And then in network, that's a bit more advanced. Like you can have like a server and then have all your projects on there, so all the computers in the same network can work on the same projects and like save them all on the server. And cloud is also really useful. You can log in with your Blackmagic account and then have your project saved in the cloud, so you never have to worry about backups or transferring your data or whatever. It's all in the cloud. It's really useful. It costs a little bit of money, but it's honestly pretty affordable. I don't know, I think I pay like €5 a month for this. Yeah, it's very affordable. It's pretty cool. Yeah, okay. So if you want to create a new project, you can either click on new project here and just give it a name, or you can just immediately click on untitled project. Untitled project is basically the same as click on new project, but you don't have to put in a name, right? If you just double click on untitled project, it just shows you the Resolve interface, and yeah, you can just start experimenting. Even this is really cool for just trying stuff out, right? So you don't have to create a project file. You just click on untitled project and you can just try stuff out, and you can save it later if you decide to keep it. So yes, one more thing for the project window. You can, oh yeah, by the way, you can open the project window with this button, with this home icon on the bottom here. The thing about Resolve, how it saves projects, is it saves it in a database, right? Like, which is basically this database here. And so you don't have individual project files like Premiere does, for example. So if you want to send your project file to someone else, you need to export it first. And you can do that very easily by right-clicking on a project and just clicking on Export Project. And then, yeah, it saves this DRP file, and you can send that to whoever needs it, and you can import it into Resolve by just drag and dropping it into this window here. And also really cool, you can export project archives. And the project archive is the project file and all the data that is in there, all packed together into one folder, which makes it very easy to send a whole project off or like back a whole project up. So yeah, that's what that is for. All right, here we go. Oh, wait, I can just close it here. All right, we got through the project manager. Let's get started with Resolve itself. So one important thing you need to keep in mind when you start a new project is that you check your time code. No, oh, frame rate. That you check your frame rate, because once you created a new timeline, the frame rate will be locked for the whole project, like the default frame rate. So you want to go into this little cog icon down here, and you want to check your timeline frame rate. And yeah, make sure that you set this to the frame rate that your project is going to be in, because it's, for some reason, it's difficult to change later on, or I don't think it's possible at all. So do this as your first step when you start a serious project, like set your timeline frame rate, because later on it will be grayed out and you won't be able to change it anymore. We do have some questions here. Theodore asks, did you use Adobe Premiere After Effects before? Yeah, I did use it from time to time, and I need to use it sometimes for projects, right, for jobs. I just don't prefer those programs. I don't like them so much. All right. Oh, something in general for you guys, how this stream is going to work. For the first hour now, I'm going to show you all the basics in Resolve and Fusion. And then for the second hour after that, we can go into any questions you have about the program or any more advanced things you want to see or you want to learn. And then we can focus more on individual little aspects that you want to see. All right. Okay. So let's go into the interface a little bit. So you're going to see that we always have these buttons up here. I mean, obviously we have this bar up here, which has a lot of different options, like the preferences, file things. But yeah, this is a lot of options, so just explore this on your own. But basically, you have these buttons on the top here, right? Like some on the top left, some on the top right. And these basically open and close kind of like tools in Resolve, right? So now I have an inspector here. Now I'm full screen, which I don't need right now. Here I can open and close. Wait, no, I can't actually close it, but I can open my transitions. I can open my titles. I can open the effects. So yeah, you can basically kind of like adjust the tools you have available to you with these buttons up here. Oops, full screen is not really anything. Quick export. Oh yeah, quick export is pretty useful. Yes, and then we have the pages on the bottom here. Right now we're on the cut page. The cut page is for quickly assembling clips, right? Very quickly assembling an edit. it's really only used for the rough cut. Like anything after the rough cut, you would go over to the edit page over here. But the cut page is useful in a way that it does a lot of things automatically. Like you don't have to manually do a lot. Like it automatically closes gaps between clips. It automatically organizes them. It automatically trims clips. So yeah, like try this page out by starting your edit in this for the rough cut. And then after that, you can move on to the edit page. Actually, before we move on to the edit page, I would go to the media pool because we don't have anything in our project yet. So the media pool is for organizing your project files, right? I'm going to close the metadata here. So we have our viewer full screen. And I am going to go into one of my projects that I'm working on right now. For example, I'm working on Prash's short film called Bubble Wrap. I favorited that folder already here. On the top left here, you have your whole system structure, right? Like your hard drives and all your folders. And what I like to do is I like to, when I have like a project folder, I like to drop it down here into my favorites. So I always have it here. And then what I like to do is, because when I get new footage or something, there's not an automatic sync function yet. So if you have a new footage in your folder, in your PC, it won't automatically sync that structure back into Resolve. But this is kind of like a little trick that I learned that you can do. You can just drop this whole folder into the master folder here. And then it will import your whole folder structure. And whenever you update anything, whenever you get a new file in that project folder, you can then again just like drop this into the master and it will only import the new things. So this is like a quick manual way to sync your PC folder structure to Resolve. And this is how I always do it because it's pretty useful. I've got a question here. It is possible to change the frame rate now. You can change them individually for each timeline in the timeline settings. Ah, yes. You can always change the frame rate for each timeline individually. But as far as I know, we can try that out later. But it used to be that you can't change the default frame rate anymore. Which, if you don't watch out, like if you're not aware of the correct frame rate, if you have the wrong one here, then it can happen that you have a timeline in the wrong frame rate, you start to work, and then you think, oh fuck, this is the wrong frame rate, to change it, and then things can break sometimes. So yeah, just for you to be aware. But let's check that theory in a moment when we created our first timeline. Okay, so cool. We have our folder structure here. This top is still our PC, and this is what we have in the project. So basically, we can look at our footage here. We have a rough cut of this short film here. Wait, let me actually turn off sound because you will need to hear this. So this just quickly turns off the sound of Resolve. You can also show your footage. Let's go into my footage. You can also show the thumbnails, which I think is much more useful because then if you scroll over them, you can also see a playback on the top right there. And then if you press play, it will also just play it back like that. So that's very useful. Yep. All right. Let me see my notes here if I skipped anything. That should be good. All right, let's go back into the cut page. Media pool here, and then we have all our footage here. And let's just drag one in. So we can either drop it here in this kind of like overview of the timeline. It's kind of like a mini map of the timeline, or we can drop it here in the close-up. So I'll just drop it in the overview, and then you can see, you can scroll through here, or you can scroll in the middle here, the bottom part. That's how that works. Right? Can you make this a little bit bigger? Like this, maybe. Okay, cool. And you can see it already automatically created a timeline. This timeline 1, right? So let's just go into right-click here and go to timeline settings. So this is pretty good. It used the project settings, which was 24 FPS, right? But as you can see, I can't change that anymore now. I can't change the frames per second. I can only change that if I create a new timeline and then not use project settings, format, and here I can choose the frame rate. So yeah, the frame rate in Resolve is pretty much locked in once you started working on something. So just make sure that you know what frame rate you need. Let's go back here, and yeah, same thing here. Our frame rate is now locked for the whole project. Yeah, just be aware of that. It's very important to not mess this up later down the road. Okay, so cool. Let's go back into our footage here and drop in a few other things. I can drop this in on the back here, and then you see it's like right after it. I can also drop things in between clips by doing this, for example. And you see, like, you get this red little blinking. That means if you drop it in here, it will, it will be placed between those two clips. So yeah, the cut page is very useful for quickly adjusting things. And also, like, you can see if I drag and drop this, you can see the in and out point on the top left there, or like better in this view here, you can see the kind of the frame that we start with on this shot and the next frame of the next shot. So yeah, I guess you just gotta try, like, play around with this a little bit, and you'll start to understand how exactly this works. But yeah, it's a very quick way to get a rough cut of your edit going. Yeah, now we can see, like, where we want to have this shot start. So maybe like right here. So yeah, that's that. All right, let's move on to the edit page then. So the edit page is a little bit more, yeah, classic editing page like Premiere has and Magix has. There's a few settings in here in this burger menu. You can make your video layer bigger so you can see thumbnails, which is pretty useful. So you can have it like very big or a little bit smaller. Same for audio, so you can have audio waveforms. I don't have any audio here right now, so that's not important for me. Yes, let me actually import another project where we have some VFX, so we can transition to that a bit more smoother later, which would be the Milk-Blood Frog Rave. Okay, let's just import the whole project here too. We got another question here. In Theodore asks, in your own workflow, do you use the edit page or do you go directly to the edit page? Oh, I think you meant cut page, right? The trim mode. So the cut page I use very rarely. Like I only use it when I have like a big editing project, right? If I need to assemble like a whole short film very quickly, right? I'll use the cut page, but most of the work, like 95% of the work I do in the edit page. Okay, so we got our frog ref stuff in here now. Very nice. We can also enable, like, you have two viewers here right now, and the right viewer shows you your timeline. So you can just play back your timeline. And the left viewer shows you whatever you have selected in your media pool here. So for example, if I look at footage in the media pool here, it will show you on that window. But you can also combine them to save some space or to like have your timeline bigger by pressing this button here. So now, yeah, I have a much bigger view of it, but still, if I select things here, it will just take place there. So you can have a big preview of your footage here too. So yeah, you can choose if you wanted to have it split or as one big window. Oh yeah, one more thing about the UI in this context here. As I showed you before, you can open panels on the right here, right? Like I can open the inspector, and the inspector gives you kind of like basic functionality to change clips, right? Like we have transform, we have cropping. So with transform, obviously we can zoom, we can position. And you also have these functionalities right here. If you click on this icon, you get a little viewport indicator of all these transform options, right? So you can like scale them up, move them around, rotate them. This is the anchor point, which is a bit more complicated. So let's keep that for now. And then you can also reset your settings on the top right here. I'm going to disable this again. Yeah, you also have cropping. There's a bunch of stuff in here that you can try out on your own, but it's kind of like the basic editing features that any clip could use. Yeah, we also have the metadata, which gives you all the information about your clip. We have quick export again, and on the left here we can switch to effects, so we have all of our effects. Also, something pretty cool is that when you hover over these effects, it will actually show you that effect on the current clip, which is, I think, super useful. Yeah, so you can actually, like, yeah, preview very quickly what kind of effect would work with this. Flag, yeah, very, very cool. Graphic star, okay, this looks pretty useless. Highlight stretch. Noise distortion, okay, kind of cool. Yeah, so pretty cool stuff. And you can also extend these panels with this button here. So I can have a big media pool, I can have a small one, and over here I can have a big metadata or a big inspector. Oh, actually what happened, oh, yeah, this is actually how I always have it. You can actually have metadata and inspector open at the same time because you have enough space here now. So I usually always have my metadata scaled all the way down here. So whenever I click on a clip, I have its metadata here just to be able to like check quickly because I need this information pretty often. So yeah, this is my basic setup. Okay, let me look at my notes here. Edit page. The trim edit mode. Okay, so if you edit, like right now, if you edit in this mode in the edit page, of course you can just like trim clips and whatever. Like choose the start and end position, but it doesn't do anything automatically, right? It's very manual. So if you want to have a more automatic way of editing clips, you can use the trim edit tool over here. I think it's trim edit, right? Yeah, trim edit. And this behaves similar to the cut page, where if you like edit the beginning, it will close the gap, so there's no gap between those two clips. And again, you have to get a little preview on the top there to like actually see what's happening, what the out point and the in point is. And yeah, this tool is like super useful. I use it all the time because it gives you so many different functionalities depending on where on a clip you click, right? So I can like move the position. If I click on the bottom, I can change the content by clicking on the top. I can change the in point by the left and the out point on the right, and it's all kind of like adjust automatically. There's not much you need to do after that. Something you might have also noticed when I'm going to go back to the selector, if I move things around, they stay in the view, like kind of the view adjusts automatically to the content that I have, which is very useful. And it's this button right here. If you're on this mode, it will automatically scale the view to fit everything that you have in your timeline, which is a very useful feature in my opinion. And the other view modes are basically close-up, right? So you can, like, if you go here and you click on that, you get a close-up, so you can edit frame by frame, basically. And this one is just your manual zoom, so you can control it yourself. Anytime you change this, it will automatically switch to the manual mode. So yeah, those are the zoom modes. I just remembered something useful. Oh yeah, also a way to close gaps, right? Like if I have this over here, to close this gap, you can also just select it and press backspace, and then it's gone. So also very useful. I just noticed that my screen cast like buttons are gone. I used to have like a little add-on that shows you the buttons that I press. Okay, I guess we gotta do that without it for today, but it's fine. I'll just tell you all the buttons I press. I have a question here from Theodore. Will you say that DaVinci Resolve is your main program, or do you still use HitFilm Pro? I saw you guys use it in World's 2024 teaser. Good question. I would definitely say Resolve is my main program. I use it for like 90% of my editing work and my visual effects work. And HitFilm I use nowadays very sparingly. I used to use HitFilm also for everything. Like HitFilm used to be my main tool for the longest time. I think for 7 years, HitFilm was my main tool because it was also similar to Resolve, where you had everything in one tool. You had a very cool, or like a pretty basic editing page, and then the compositing page. And yeah, it was really cool and very useful, but it's just a bit lacking behind in features now. But yeah, I still like to use it because of its speed. Like HitFilm is definitely the fastest program that I know. So if I want to get stuff done quickly, I use that one still. Okay. Let me look at my notes. Trim mode, yes. Okay, so I think those were the basics for the editing itself. Of course, there's more that, like, there's so many tricks you can do in editing to like get better at editing, faster at editing, but these are the very, very basics. Maybe something I want to show you that I do all the time to edit something. Let me close these things and split the view. So for example, I want to, before I drop a clip into my editing page, I like to set the in and out points already in here, right? So what I do is I get my footage in here, and then I scroll to the position where I want to start the clip, and I press I to get the in point, and then I go where I want to stop, press O for out point, and then I just drag and drop this in, and then I already have it basically start and end where I want it to. Yeah, it's just a thing that I like to do every time I import a clip, but yeah, you can also do it directly in the editing here. Can says HitFilm is like CapCut in the VFX world because it gets things done so quickly and conveniently. Yeah, I guess you could call it that. Yeah. Okay, so let us move on to Fusion then. So Fusion, I'm gonna show you by using this clip here. We just actually make a new timeline. Oops, I can just keep this timeline, I guess. I'll just get this out of here. Okay, so I want to create a timeline with this clip here. So I'll right click on this clip and create new timeline using selected clips. And something that we need to look out for though, I'm gonna open the metadata again. Okay, do the same thing. And then you see we have a different resolution here, right? So we are a vertical video. So I wanna not use project settings, go to format, and then you can just click on use vertical resolution, and it will automatically use the same resolution, but vertically. So now it fits perfect. Oh yeah, something that you can also do, because I wanted to watch this in loop. You can enable looping with this, and then it will just play it back in loop. Let me see, do I have the whole clip? Not quite. The whole thing. Yeah, the whole clip. Okay, cool. And how you get into Fusion is pretty easy. Like you just click on this Fusion button, and it will automatically create a Fusion composition for the first clip visible, right? So wherever your playback button is, right? This like little playback cursor here, and then looking from the top, right? So you can imagine this cursor looking downwards, and whatever it sees first, it will create a Fusion composition first. So yeah, now we have a Fusion composition for this little video here. And let me turn this into one viewer for now and make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so Fusion is a node compositor. That means instead of layers like After Effects, where you have like similar to editing, where you have like clips after clips, right? And the top clip is on top of the bottom clip. Node compositing works very differently. You have these little boxes that can be anywhere in the space, and they connect with pipes towards each other. So right now we have a very simple setup. We only have the media in, which is the clip in the edit page, connecting to the media out. which yeah, is basically the final image. And then we can add nodes in between to change our image. And this can go very big, like you can get very complex with this. But just to show you some yeah, basic nodes, you can click on some of these nodes in the toolbar here. These are some of the basic nodes you would want to use. So for example, I'm going to click on, do we have a transform here? Yeah, this is a transform. So I'm going to click on transform and we get this transform node. And you can just connect it in your pipe. Well, like right now it doesn't do anything because it's not connected to anything. So if you hold it, if you move it and hold down shift and then hover over one of these pipes, you see it will light up. And then if you let go, it's connected. And now we have this transform node in between. So now we can, yeah, we get the transform node options on the right here in the inspector, and we can, yeah, change all these things. It's pretty basic transform stuff, and you can also use the viewport gizmos here to do everything. Yeah, but as you see, like when I take this node out again, like if I grab it and hold shift and take it out, it doesn't affect it anymore. So yeah, you've got out points and in points. The out points are these little squares, and the yellow, this yellow little triangle is the in point. So you want to connect the out point to the in point here, and then this out point to that in point there. And then it will show you the result. Yeah, node compositing can be pretty confusing in the beginning because it's very different to what most people are used to. But it's worth it in the sense that you can really go very, very complex with what you can do. You can go very much into detail in your compositions. Okay, let's do something else. I want to have a background, right? So right now, this is transparent, and I want to have, I don't know, a red background. So this is a background node, and you can just click on it, and it will give you this background. And you don't see it right now, because it's not connected to anything. But also something you can do that's very cool in Fusion. Let me close the media pool actually and split this view again. You can drag and drop any node into one of these two viewers. So I just drop this into this left viewer and then we see the result of that. And you can also see the reflection of this on those little dots on the bottom. So right now there's two dots, right? And the left dot is white. That means it's getting represented in the left viewer. And the media output, the right dot is white, so it gets represented in the right viewer. And I like to keep it this way, like I like to have always the media out on the right viewer, and then whatever I'm working on, I drop into the left viewer to be able to like work on something in detail. Okay, cool. So now we want to have this behind the footage. The easiest way to do that is to connect the output points, right? So I'm taking the output of the background and I drop it onto the out point of the transform. And then I get a merge. And something happened here that might be a bit confusing. We only see black now. And that's because the background goes into the green input of merge. And that means green is the foreground element. So the black background gets put on top of our footage now. We can change that by either like, yeah, connecting it manually like this. So yeah, now we have it on front of our black background. Let's actually change it to red while we're here. Red. Okay, so red background. There's also a key shortcut, a keyboard shortcut to change the in and out, the foreground and background is Control T. So just press Control T. And you can see that the green and yellow lines, they switch around. And you got to think of the merge node kind of as your layer replacement, right? So in After Effects, if you want to have something on top of each other, you just have to place it on top. But in Resolve and Fusion, you do it, oh no, just in Fusion, you do it with merging, right? So yeah, and merge basically also gives you all the transform abilities. Like it lets you scale the foreground element, it lets you center it and rotate it. But I would advise you to not use the transform into the merge, inside of the merge, because it can get a little confusing because you can't see what merge does what, right? And if you use a transform node instead, you can immediately see that this image gets transformed before it goes into merging in front of the background. So that kind of like just helps with readability of your node composition. Okay, let me look at my notes another time here. Merge, we got that. Oh, text. Okay. There's also another mode to adding new nodes because, yeah, we have the basic nodes right here. We can also open the effects panel and we get all of our nodes here, all the effects, and you can go through this and check everything out. But what I like to use most is pressing Control Space. And this gives you this little pop-up, and you can just type in any effect and it will show to you. For example, I want text, and then you have all the text effects. And I just want like a normal text in front of it. And that's actually the text plus node. So I add that one, and it adds it somewhere in our composition. Something I want to also show you, like right now we have our text here, and if we type something in, hello, it will appear there. But if you wanted to connect directly to something, right, so I don't have to do like all this stuff, is you select your node where you want to connect it to, right? So I want to have the text after this merge. And like, so I select this merge and then I add the text. And now it automatically, yeah, put another merge here and my text here. And yeah, and it's all set up. Now if I put on hello here, it's automatically in front of it. So yeah, that's a quick way to, yeah, merge directly. It also works for all kinds of effects, right? So if I want to add a glow onto this shot, I just select it and then press Control Space, look for glow, and will automatically put it after it connected. Nice little glow here. Okay. There's another question here from Can. Do you recommend create a Fusion clip or working directly on the media clip by clicking Open in Fusion? That's a good question too, actually, yeah. So what I usually do is I duplicate the clip before I turn it into Fusion clip. Because right now, our original clip is basically replaced by a Fusion clip, right? So there's, yeah, so whenever you edit this clip, it's whatever you do in the Fusion composition. You can also disable that by clicking this button here, and this disables all effects and all color grading. So it's, if you have trouble playing back in real time, you can just disable all the effects with this, and then you should be able to watch your edit very smoothly. And if you don't want your effects anymore on that clip, you can go and right-click on it and choose Reset Fusion Composition. And that should, yeah, that should remove all the effects. Okay, but going back to how I like to do it. Oh shit, I can't undo that. Oh, the effects are completely gone now. Okay, but so what I like to do is I like to edit or to lock and edit, right? So like edit the whole thing without effects and then lock it time-wise. And then what I do is I select the clip and with Alt, holding down Alt, I drop it, I drag and drop it on top of it. And now I do the effects on this. So that way, like, let's just do some stuff here again. I don't know, let's add another glow here, and then a transform, and then a background. Reverse the thing, transform it down, make the background red, make the glow stronger. Okay, so, and now I basically have my effects on the top layer, and the bottom layer is still the original footage. That way I can also do multiple versions, right? So if I like this, but I want to try something else, I can just like Alt drag it on top again, and then yeah, I can have another version of it and like do some other stuff on it. Maybe change the background to blue, right, like this. Yeah, then I have a blue background version here, I have my red background version here, and I have an original here. So yeah, that's how I like to do it, how I like to organize it. Oh, yeah, by the way, you can disable and enable clips with D. Just pressing D enables or disables clips. Oh yes, something also, if, for example, I want to go into this clip's composition, right? But if I click on this icon, it brings me to the highest clip. So if you want to get into a lower clips fusion comp, you right click on it and then choose open in fusion page. That way you get to whatever clip you want to go into. So that is that. Let's go back to Fusion here. Text I showed you, merge I showed you, transform, background. Oh, mask. Okay. Mask is also pretty important because you want to cut things out sometimes, right? Let me just get rid of this glow here. We don't really need it. So masks you get here. It's like a square mask, circle mask, curve mask, some other types that I don't use that often. So if you just select, you can add masks to anything, right? Like all these little blue triangles are mask inputs. So you can put masks into anything. So if I select the footage and I click on the circle mask, it will automatically add the circle mask to that clip, to the footage. And now I can move this circle around, make it bigger, make it smaller. And that's how you add masks. Is there anything else to that I should mention? I mean, maybe kind of like flow-wise, right? Like now that we added this ellipse mask, right, let me just put it somewhere where it makes more sense, maybe. Maybe here. Yeah, whatever. So it gets cut out first and then it gets transformed because the node is after that, right? But there's also different ways we can do that, right? Like if I put this ellipse into this merge mask, it still cuts out a circle, but it happens after the transform. So you can see it's kind of like this, the mask stays in place, even if I transform this footage. So yeah, it makes a lot of difference where you put your masks. And one more thing about the cool thing about nodes, what I really like, is that you can reuse data. So, for example, I can use this mask on this merge, but I can also connect it to this media input. And then it gets used on both at the same time. So if I move it now, I have the circle on my footage, but it will also cut out depending on the merge position. So yeah, that's the cool thing about nodes. You can combine and connect things however you want to and like reuse them however you want to. There's a lot of examples how this is useful, but maybe it's a bit too much right now. You'll probably figure some out on your own soon. Maybe let's see. Got mask nodes. Oh, okay, let's get into animation. So I'm gonna just remove this ellipse because we don't really need it. Okay, animations you do with these buttons here. So any value that has this little rectangle icon on the right, you can just click and then it creates a keyframe. And you can also see that keyframe in this timeline here with this little white line. So yeah, I have a keyframe right here. If I go to the beginning of the frame of the time, I can move this around and it will automatically create a new keyframe. And then we have this animation here, which just moves to the right. We can also have this cool little line in the viewport, and we can actually manipulate the keyframes wherever we are in time. So I can just like grab these and change how the curve behaves, how this animation should happen. And then if I play it back, it plays it back like that. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm wondering, can I also change the type, like if it's smooth or not? Let me see. I guess not. I think we have to do that in the curve editor. Or maybe, wait. We can also jump from one keyframe to the other with these little buttons here. So let's see. Set, if I remove, no, it's not in here. Okay, so I want to like have this animation smooth, right? I want it to like come in smooth and like end smooth, and maybe even change the timing of them. You can do that with this window here, keyframes. And that opens up this little window here. You can scale to fit the frame with this button, and then open up this drop down, and then you have your keyframes here. And you can move these keyframes in time by just like clicking and dragging them. And then you can also right click on them and change if they should be smooth or linear. And that changes their behavior, right? Like if you have a smooth in and out or a harsh in and out, smooth. So now if I play it, it should start slow and end slow. Yeah, there you go. And if you want to get really in depth with how smooth it is, you open up the spline editor and enable it. Enable the data for that, and then you can, yeah, manipulate the smoothness however you like. So now it should kind of like bounce back, I think. Let's see. Yeah, now it kind of like bounces back at the end there. Also something you might want is motion blur, right? Because right now it's very, very harsh. So you can select your node where you have movement in, and then in the settings you can enable motion blur here. Yeah, now we have motion blur. Very nice. If you're like distracted by the user interface here, you can either press Ctrl K to disable the user interface, or you just click out of the node, right? You just have no node selected, and then you also don't see any user overlays. Yes, that is that. Oh, but you can also kind of like see that the motion blur is not really that good, right? Like you have a lot of stepping. You can change that with the quality setting here. If I do this higher, yeah, it looks much smoother with a higher quality. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I guess that's the basic of animation. We got the motion blur. Working with 3D renders. Like if I render something out of Blender and I want to composite it, how do I do that, right? So for this shot, I think I have my renders of frogs. So I'm just going to disable this and get another version up here for the frog composite. Let me search for the frog footage in my media pool. Is it this one? Frog wave. It's not this one. Shot 3. I don't remember which shot exactly that was. Wait, does it have a name? Shot 3. It does have a name. Okay. So shot 3. Do we have a newer version? Shot 3 v1. Okay, let's just go with that one. Shot 3 v1. Yes. Okay. So you can see I have a JPEG sequence and the EXR sequence. That's something Blender-wise. Like I like to export, kind of like a placeholder JPEG sequence just to be able to quickly play it back, and then the EXR sequence to really work with it. So I'm going to select my EXR sequence, go back into Fusion, open up my media pool here, and then drop my EXR sequence in here. All right. So let's see if this works. Okay, so when you export EXR sequences, you might get an error when you want to play it back. Like right now it's red, that means there's something wrong. And what's wrong is that I exported a multi-layer EXR, but I have not selected any layer to display yet. It shows this drop down here, layer, and I need to select a layer that it should play back. So I'm going to choose composite, combined, and then you see it will play back the data. And it looks like it's the right shot. Yeah, this looks correct. Okay, cool. And now I'm just gonna combine these two by click and dragging this output over here. Then I have it on top of my footage. But you might notice it's super dark. Like, these frogs are super dark. They should not be this dark. And that's not a problem, but kind of like a workflow thing with EXR again. EXR is a format that is linear, that has linear data. I don't want to get too deep into color science and stuff like that, because color science is a whole different topic by itself. But it basically means linear data has no display transformation. Like, it doesn't know how it should be presented. It's just pure data, right? It's just pure... it's not even image data, it's just data. So we need to transform it in a way to like make sense for our eyes. So what you need to do is, whenever you use the EXR sequence, the EXR render, you need to search for the OCIO color space node. And then you add that to after your render. And then in here, you select Browse, and you go into your Blender installation folder. You select your latest version. And yeah, this is the path. You click on 4.3 again, and then to, what was it, data files, color management, and then you select this config.icio. And then what you want to do is you select source space to be linear rec 709, right? Because as I said, EXR is linear. And output space to, I usually use AGX now, since we have AGX with the latest Blender version. So AGX, sRGB. And then you can see it looks much more, yeah, realistic. It looks much more how it should be. There's also the possibility for you to use Filmic, right? Which is the old color transform from Blender. So yeah, you can use either Filmic or AGX. I like AGX a little bit more. And from then on, you can start working to make it look realistic. For me, for example, there's this bright outline sometimes with EXR that you have here. And I like to fix that by just going into the merge node and changing the subtractive additive value to a value that makes sense, that looks more realistic. So yeah, I guess more like around 0.5. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Cool. Let me look at the comments real quick if I missed anything. iFeature asks, oh, welcome iFeature, by the way. How do you work with graphs again when you want to make movements? Again, I mean, if you want to just see it again, I would recommend you going back in time in this live stream and check it out. I think I explained it like 10 minutes ago. Okay, so yeah, we got our render here now. Looks pretty good, and what I might want to do is, probably what I need to do is add grain, right? Because there's probably no grain on my render. There's not much grain in general, so I just need a little bit. So I'm gonna select this again and add grain, and then I should be able to like, yeah, see it. Yeah, I can see it here now. Yeah, but it's definitely very, very slight, so I'm just gonna add a little bit of it. Kind of like this, maybe. Oh, probably even a bit less. Maybe like that. Yeah, okay. What else can we do? I don't know, maybe we can, like, what I like to do is add a glow effect on top of everything that kind of just like binds the CG and the live action stuff together. So I can do that by just like, I want it after the merge, right? So I select merge and then add a glow effect. I will take this one and let's change the shine threshold here and the gain to make it a bit brighter. Yeah. Spread. Maybe like a little bit more, but like make it... Oh, actually, usually I like to change the composite type of glows from add to screen, because add kind of like destroys colors or like highlights a lot, right? Because the highlights here, for example, they're completely white now, which you usually don't want. So I'm going to change this to screen, and then it looks a bit softer. So I'm going to lower the opacity. Yeah, then we have a little glow that helps, I think, to combine the CG and the live action together a little bit, especially like at moments like here where they are in front of something bright, and this brightness then kind of like wraps around them, which I think, yeah, helps a lot to make it feel more realistic. Actually, while we're on the topic of glows, I did create my own glow that I would like you guys to experiment with and give me feedback on, because I want to release it properly. So let me just add it here. It's called Culver Glow V2 Beta right now, and I added it, and you can see immediately I think it's got a pretty cool look. Yeah, it's very powerful. The default settings are very powerful, and you can change the blur size with this. And this is the threshold, so you can select how much of the image should be glowing. And then this thing is for kind of like controlling the look of the glow, if you want to have more highlights or if you want it to be more spread out. For this scene, I think I would go with a more spread out, because it feels like a foggy environment, or like an environment that could be foggy. So if we spread it out a little bit and maybe decrease the gain a little bit, it could feel pretty cool. Yeah, I created this glow because it has a bunch of features inside that makes it feel more realistic, in my opinion. And also it helps to like, here this burnout protector helps to like not burn highlights out, as you can see. Yeah, if you want to try it out, let me actually send a link to that, because I have it here on the Discord server in visual effects. Yeah, I made a little thread here, the glow. Let me quickly post the link to that in where was it? Wasn't there like a way to like get a link to a thread? Copy the link. Yeah, I think that's it. All right. So here's the
Culver,
thread.
the principal sent a link.
Yes, I sent a link. Yeah, so you can just download it, play around with it, use it. Yeah, it's a pretty cool glow, I think. Boom. All right, let's get back on track. You can use YouTube Live. I think it's also streaming that. Yes. All right, let's see. Where were we? Animation, working with JPEG, with 3D renders, importing XR, select layers. Oh yeah, something also cool with layers is that you can, have. Oh, I don't have any emission here. But yeah, usually you have like different types of data, right? So I'm going to just copy, paste these nodes. And I'm going to select a different layer, like depth Z. So now I have a depth pass that I could use for more depth of field, or maybe adding a little bit of fog to the scene. Mist is something that's like a similar pass, but a little cleaner, as you can see here. So yeah, multi-layer EXR stuff, but I'm going to go more into detail with that stuff in a separate workshop in the future. Okay, color page. I wrote down to like go a little bit into the color page and audio page too, but honestly, we're already in the second hour now, and I think I would like to go more into what you guys want to know now, like what you. What has been unclear, or what features would you like to learn more about? So I'm open to questions now. If you have any, please tell me now over the next hour, and then we can go into whatever you guys are interested in. I'm gonna wait for a bit for you guys to think of questions. Coach, you need to go to the office lunch? Oh man. Alright. Have a good lunch, man. Thanks for joining the stream. Theo has a question. How long did you learn Fusion Page? Fusion I've been using for would say 5 years now. Yeah. Yeah, about 5 years now. If any students are in the stream, they can also join the live stream channel on Discord and just talk with me directly. So we can, yeah, do it verbally, so I can explain things to you verbally and you can ask your questions verbally. That's also a really, I mean, that's honestly my preferred way for helping you guys. If you join the live stream voice chat in Discord, on the Discord server, and then we can just talk directly during the live stream. Ken has a question. I think go through all the basic nodes in the bar and save the 3D composite for the next section. Okay, yeah, sure. Let's look at some of these bar nodes. So, let's see. Yeah, I'll just start on the left. Okay, background, you already saw, right? It's just a basic color screen that you can also, on the image settings here, change the resolution of. You have to disable auto resolution and then you can change the resolution. It will also always show you the resolution and the bit depth on the top right of your frame. Right there. So yeah, that's the background. And then we have the fast noise, which is really useful. It gives you like, yeah, a quick way to get some noise. And noise is being used for all kinds of things to, I mean, grain is noise. Displacement, you can use this noise very well for displacing things. Yeah, it's got a bunch of little settings that help you to like shape your noise to look how you want it to look. It's not as detailed as the noise you have in Blender, for example. I think the noise you have in Blender is way more useful because you can like really change it a lot. But yeah, this just gives you like a very big, like a small starting point for your noise, and then you add more nodes to make it look how exactly you want it to look. Oh, colors, I guess you can also change. Yeah, gradient, that's also kind of cool. Yeah, very, very basic noise. Then we have the text. Yeah, the text is also pretty self-explanatory, I think. It's very similar to what other editing programs have with the settings that are available here with like fonts and... Ooh, what's that? Oh, all these fonts are weird. Yeah, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Nothing too crazy about the text node. Paint. Paint is a little bit more interesting. Paint basically lets you do either frame-by-frame animation, right? So I could... Oh, I need a background here, though. I guess I'll just use this background here. I'll put the background into the paint, and then let me make it black, actually, so we can see it better. And then I can just start drawing. But what we'll notice is that this drawing is only visible for one frame. And that's because of the stroke duration setting here. And it's at 1 because it's only one frame. So if I go to the next frame and I draw here again, yeah, it's only those 2 frames being drawn now. And this paint thing is getting used for... I mean, I like to use it to mask things out, right? To like use this black and white image as a mask. So instead of using curves or anything, I can just like paint my mask, right? Just like make it look how I want to. And yeah, then I have my mask. I can plug that into my footage, for example. Then it gets cut out that way. Looks pretty strange right now. Probably because of the background resolution. Let me do auto resolution again. Yes, and I think the mask input needs alpha, so I'm gonna make this invisible. Yeah, and now you can see it gets cut out how I painted it. So I can just like, yeah, keep painting here, and I get my mask. So that's what that is getting used for. But if you're using it for this, you gotta freeze the time, or you go to the first frame and you increase the stroke duration to infinity. But that's a little bit unpractical. So what I like to do is I draw on the frame that I need my mask from, right? And then I add a time stretcher node. And in this time stretcher, I basically just type in the frame up here, disable that keyframe, and I just type in the frame that I'm actually currently on, 29, and then this paint stroke is basically frozen in time forever. So I have that mask. Yeah, that's the paint stroke. Let me get rid of that again. Then we have our color correction, which is, yeah, pretty basic color correction stuff. So I just like shift the colors into a specific direction, make it all green. I can make it more saturated. I can change the hue. I can change the contrast. So yeah, very, very basic color correction stuff that you can kind of like do cool stuff with though. Especially because you can also edit the shadows, midtones, and highlights separately. So yeah, it's basic color correction. Let's get rid of that here. Then we have the curves. Curves are super useful to like get the contrast look that you're looking for, or just adjusting your effects. So I will disable alpha because I don't want to edit the alpha channel. Now I can just like, yeah, click and create new points here. We have to like make it look how I want it to look. A quick way to smoothen these, because right now they're linear, right? Like they're very edgy, very edgy. You can press Control S, oh no, Shift S. Shift S, and then you get a soft curve. Yeah, so that's the curve effect. What's next? We got the brightness and contrast, which is very similar to the color correction node. It's just, I mean, it's almost the same, right? Let's get all those things. Yeah, it's almost the same, just without the color wheel here. So honestly, I would never use the brightness and contrast. I would just always use the color correction node because you immediately have more options there. Okay, this is blur. Blur is, yeah, pretty useful for all kinds of things. You can just like make things softer, right? Make masks softer, or make your image softer, or make your glow softer. Yeah, let me quickly actually show that to you, like how to create your own custom glow, right? Like how it's a bit similar how I created my Calva glow. I did something like this. So I'm going to feed this into my blur, right? So I'm just blurring the image, but before that I'm creating a luma key, and I put this luma key before the blur, and now I can, yeah, choose what parts of the image should be blurred, right? So I'm either blurring the very high, very bright parts, I'm blurring the very dark parts, wait, invert, yeah, now I'm blurring the very dark parts. But for a glow, you usually want to, yeah, only blur. Invert, no invert. You want to blur the bright parts. So now we're doing that. And then I'm gonna add a merge and merge this again with the original footage, like that. And then you can see we have some nice glow on top. So yeah, that's how you create your own little custom glow effect. Yeah, I did my own glow effect with like similar ways like this, but just, yeah, way more in detail. Okay, what else do we have here? We've got the mergers. This is like, yeah, the normal one foreground background merge, but we also have the multi-merge, which is pretty interesting because with multi-merge, let me just add a text here and connect that to the multi-merge. Here into the, wait, what? Why doesn't that work? Oh, it's text 3D. I just want a normal text. Text plus. Connect that in here. Type in 1. Make that bigger. Okay, so I can just copy copy this text and keep plugging it into the multi-merge, and you will see it just will create more inputs. So the multi-merge is very useful if you have a lot of the same or similar objects that you want to merge at the same time. So yeah, that's pretty useful for that. And also what you just noticed, if I select multiple nodes, I also get the controls for all the nodes that I selected. And also to the right here, I can open up all the settings for all the nodes that are selected. So that's also pretty useful. Also what you might notice is this little minimap here. That this minimap will show up if not all your nodes fit on the screen. So if you're zoomed in, you get this cool little minimap, and you can just quickly scroll to the part of the composition that you want to work on. All right. Next up, we got, what is this? Channel Boolean. Channel Boolean is a little bit more advanced. It's for working with channel data and like transforming it. So you can, again, have like a foreground, background element. And then, wait, does this fucking do that? Yeah. And you can select what should happen with that, right? Like, so right now, I'm copying the foreground red to the foreground. Like, yeah, I'm just copying the data basically onto the background, which, yeah, I don't think I want to go into more detail, because you usually, for everything basic compositing, you don't really need this. This just is more for like technical stuff when you're doing more technical compositing. All right, next up we got matte control. Matte control is actually pretty useful. Matte control controls the alpha channels. So for the frogs, for example, right? Like I have these frogs, and I want to change how their alpha is. I can drop this in here. Let me view that. And then I can blur the alpha, right? So the transparency gets blurred. I can expand and contract the alpha to like eat away from the edges or like expand them. Restore fringe. I'm not sure what that does here. Yeah, but it's basically this, just like adjusting the alpha channel, the alpha mask. Then next up we got the transform. And the transform I already showed you. It's just for moving things around. All right, now we got the masks. Let's go back into our footage here. I'll disable the multi-merge. You can disable nodes with Control P, by the way. All right, so you can just disable it with Control P or clicking this little icon here. Okay, let me show you the different masks. So we got a rectangle, pretty simple and limited, but you can round the corners, which is pretty nice. So you can have like very nice rounded shapes. So that's pretty cool. Then we have the circle, which we already used. Also very basic, not much to talk about it. Oh, something that I need to mention. All the shapes have also a soft edge here, and that lets you, kind of like soften the mask. Oh, something also that you might notice, the slider just goes from 0 to 0.2, right? But you can actually type in whatever number you want to and go above that, right? So I can just type in 2, and then we have it very soft. Oh, actually, it didn't go all the way to 2. 1 is actually the maximum. Okay, I see. So yeah, it just goes from 0 to 1. So yeah, most of the time you can extend those values further than what they let you, right? Here again, like 0.2, and I'll just do 1, and now it's more. Can I do more than 1 here? Let's do 5. Okay, 1 is also the maximum here. Okay, just so you know. You can also reset to the standard with pressing this little button down here. This little circle. Ellipse. Let's go with the polygon. And polygon doesn't create any mask by itself directly, you need to draw it. But the problem is, if you connect it directly, you don't see image anymore. So you don't want to connect it directly, have it only selected, and then draw your polygon mask. Like this maybe, if I want my speaker. Make it connected, and then you can connect it to your mask, and you have your polygon mask. Yeah. And you might also notice you automatically have a keyframe. This thing here, right-click to right-click here for shape animation. It's got a red dot already, and it's also got a white dot here. So whenever you move the mask now, it will create a new keyframe, and it will move. So if you don't want that, do a right-click on here, and remove polygon 1 poly, whatever that name was, and it will stay static. Even if you move it now, it will only stay static. Alright, next up we got B-spline. Alright, B-spline I haven't used myself before. Let's just see what the difference here is. It seems to be very similar. Okay, put a dot here, put a dot there. Ah, it's this type of mask. Okay. So yeah, it's similar to polyspline. How's it called? Polyspline? Polygon? Polyline. So it's similar, but it works a little bit different. Like you just click and create the edges or the corners, and then you can kind of like transform them by moving them around. So yeah, very, very similar. And this one is multi-layer. Ah, okay. So this one just lets you create multiple different masks in the same node, right? So you can create your mask here, and then I want to add another polygon mask. Like, I want to have this little item here with that. And I guess then you just have, instead of having to create multiple nodes, you just have them in a list like this. Pretty simple. Pretty self-explanatory. All right. Okay, this stuff is getting more complicated now, though. Now we're getting into a 3D world. Let me do that completely separate right now. Pixelmate asks, what program do you use for showing the buttons to click on the keyboard? I forgot the name of it right now. Wait, let me quickly... I use Kamek. Yeah, does it work now actually? It doesn't work. It used to work. Hello, Kamek. Oh, here we go. Okay. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So, yeah, I need to figure out why it doesn't always work. But yeah, it's Kamek. The name in the chat. Oh, sure, man. 1 sec.
Culver, the principal said.
Ah, Karnak. Karnak. That's actually written Karnak. I didn't see that with my busy background. Okay. Yeah, I wanted to show you the next ones, which is particles. But the particle system is a whole beast on its own. So I don't want to get too much into that. But let me just create a particle emitter here. P emitter, and we don't even see it. What's this? P render. Okay, there we go. Now we see our particles. But yeah, particles are a whole different topic. Like they're their own beast. So I don't want to get too deep into that. Let me show you the 3D things instead. So I'm going to create an image plane 3D, and it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just like a background node, but as a 3D plane. You can transform it, rotate it, scale it. Oh, by the way, I'm using W, E, and W, E, and Q to get like Q is the transform things. Wait, why doesn't it work? Q, W, E. Ah, now it works. Okay, yeah. W is rotation and E is scale. Okay, it doesn't always work for some reason. Okay, yeah, but yeah, this is just a 3D image plane. You can put textures on this or videos. For example, I can connect our footage into there. And then we have our footage on the 3D plane. So there you go. Next thing is we have 3D shapes, which is pretty similar, but just you can select what you want, right? Like the standard is a plane, but you can also have a cube or a sphere. And you can connect also again like textures to it to make it look different. So I want to, for example, like I want to use the same video on this cube down here, right? So I can just click with Alt onto this pipe and we get this little reroute and then just put that into the shape. And now we have that footage on the cube. Let's see how it looks on the sphere actually. Oh, that's pretty strange. Interesting. We also have a merge 3D here directly, so we can just like view that, and then we have both of our objects in the same world. So yeah. We both have them in here now. Let's see, what else do we have? We have a 3D text, of course. Also, the merge 3D works like the multi-merge. You can put it as many objects in there as you want to. For text here, hello. So yeah, this is a 3D space. This is a 3D space we're working with. Oh, navigation maybe. Middle mouse button, you can just kind of like pan around. By holding down Alt, you can orbit, and holding down, what's it, Control? Oh no, just mouse wheel, you can zoom in and out, obviously. Oh yeah, you can also just select the objects by clicking on them. That's pretty cool. Okay, but the problem is, we can't, like we need to render this. Right now it's just a 3D scene, but we don't have a camera. So we need to add a camera with this button here. So now we have a 3D camera. And we can also see it in our 3D viewport. But we don't, like, we don't see what the camera sees right now. We need to use a render layer, a render node for that. So I'm going to click the merge 3D and I'm going to click on render 3D. So this is a render 3D node. And if I look at this, we basically see the camera view. So if I change the camera now, yeah, we see the camera view. So what I could do is I show the merge 3D in the left window and the render on the right. Now I have control over everything, and I see it being reflected in real time on the right. It's the final image. Can I have this bit more wide angle? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, and this render 3D is basically a image file now, so you can merge this on top of whatever you want to merge it on top, because you can't merge merge the merge 3D with image data, right? So if I add a merge here, let me view this again. I can't have the merge 3D being visible. Only the render 3D is visible as an image. So now I have, yeah, my 3D render on top of the on top of the normal image, which looks very confusing. Or Ken has a question. Wait, particles in Fusion require 3D? In After Effects there's a 2D particle system. I haven't used them, so I don't know. Yeah, particles in Fusion are, as far as I know, always 3D. There's no shortcut for particles in Fusion. They are real simulated 3D objects, 3D systems. So yeah, particles are a bit more complicated, but I did use them sometimes, and once, like when you start to understand them and how to use them, they are very useful, they are very powerful. Oh, I guess we also have light, right? Like the 3D light here. Let me just show that again. Spotlight. Okay, it's not visible right now. I think it's because of the shading. I think we need to enable lighting. Oh yeah, here we go. Lighting, shadows. Let's So now, do we see our light? Yeah, I saw something there. Ah, yeah, now we see our light working. I think we need to set our... Ah, yeah, up here we need to set... click on this button to actually see our lighting. There you go. It looks... I think it's pretty... Like, the rendering is pretty basic in Fusion in the 3D space, but it is useful. It is pretty fast and useful. This is a spotlight. Do we also have other lights? Let's see. Light. Relight. Light. 3D. 3D. Light. Oh, we have a directional light. Let's put that into our merge 3D. Okay, and then if we rotate that, that should be... Yeah, so this light comes from one specific direction. That's pretty useful too. But it doesn't have shadows, so can I enable shadows? It says enabled, but it doesn't show the shadows. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if it actually has shadows. But yeah, that's the 3D space. Yeah, it doesn't look like it has shadows, honestly. Maybe I need to make shadows visible with each object. No, it already has that. Alright, okay. I think that wraps it up. Does anybody still has any questions? We still have a little bit of time to go into additional questions. Oh, maybe rendering. Yeah, I think exporting a video is pretty important too. So let's just render this mess that we created. So let's go into edit page here. Yeah, the edit page, you see we have our composite, and oh yeah, something that's also useful. Right now it plays back pretty slow because we have all these 3D effects, right, and all the compositing. If you want this to be caged and like being able to play back in real time, you go up here to playback and render cage smart. And then you'll see this red line appears, and after a moment it will start turning blue. And that means the computer is rendering frames that you can then play back in real time. So let's see, let's wait a moment. Should start turning blue any second. Hello. I mean, maybe even if I play it back, it should... Ah, yeah, now it's starting to turn blue. Okay, so, yeah, now everything is blue here, and it plays back in real time. So that's pretty cool. Okay, let's export this. So let's go into the deliver page here. And in the deliver page, you can select the in and out points of what you want to export, right? So I can change the in and out points. But I can also select clips here and just right click on it and select render this clip. And then it will put the in and out point around that clip. Yeah, and then setting wise, you have some cool presets here, like depending on where you want to send it to. I like to use most of the time the H.264 preset. Yeah, QuickTime, H.264 is all good. Quality best is really good. If you want to save some space, you can go high, but medium and everything lower than that doesn't look good, so I wouldn't use it. You can also enable audio here or disable it if you don't need audio. Yeah, and then you select your destination. I'm gonna put in my downloads. Tutorial result 1. And then you click on add to render queue, and then it's in this queue, and you click on render all. Then it's gonna render that. And usually the rendering in Resolve is pretty fast. It's very, very much accelerated, GPU accelerated. Khan says, well, you name your file type %, and you have many options to include metadata of everything in your project. Oh, let me look at that. I haven't tried that. Ah, very cool. I actually didn't know this trick. Percent, so we can have frames. How many frames it has? The editor lens. Very cool. Very cool. Can we also have like fusion data, fusion composition? Cool. Nice. Yeah, thanks for the tip. I didn't know that. Render codec. Ah, render codec is very useful. I usually like to put that in my names anyways. Exporting timeline name. Ah, okay. Yeah, that's also nice. With the timeline name thing I usually did through here, like clicking on timeline name here and then it calls it by the timeline name. So I guess that's the same thing then. Oh, that's a very cool trick. Thank you. Yeah, now we have our export. Oh, what the fuck? It still had sound. Forgot that this video had sound. Yeah, here we go. Isn't it wonderful? So beautiful. Okay, guys. Are there any more questions? I feel like we are through it. Oh wait, Pixel asks, can you explain that again? Include metadata and everything in your project. Yeah, I think what he's talking about is like when you put in this percentage here, it gives you this list of all kinds of data that is yeah, available in your timeline or in the footage. It really looks like all kinds of stuff. So I mean, I haven't used it at all up to this point, so you definitely don't need it. But yeah, it's useful. It's definitely useful. Oh, VFX notes. That's cool. VFX mirror ball. Very cool. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna look into this to see like how much use I can make of this. I would definitely put format in my exports now, so it would. Wait, let's see. So right now, I exported this as tutorial result 1, and if I export this again, it should call it tutorial result 1 QuickTime. Oh, I hoped it would name it H.264 because that's the real codec. QuickTime is just the container. Yeah, that is QuickTime format. Okay, wait, let me not format but codec. Render codec. There we go. H.264 NVIDIA. Yes, that's what I want. I mean, NVIDIA is a bit confusing, but H.264 is correct. Nice. Yeah, I'll definitely put that in my render stuff from now on out. Does it just generate extra file? As it looks like it's just part of the name. It's just yeah, naming it that way to like be able to have just metadata automatically in the name of your file. Let's see, cam resolution. Comments. I don't think I have any comments in this. Yeah, there's probably not much metadata in this to be used, but yeah, very cool feature. All right, guys, I feel like that's it. I haven't gotten any new questions in a while, so I'm gonna wrap this up. Thanks everyone for coming by and checking this out. I hope you learned something. And yeah, please join the Discord server, participate. You can keep asking questions there, and me and the other members will probably help you out. If you like, I would also really appreciate if you could look into supporting me through Patreon. That would be a great help, and I really want I want to make this my full-time job at some point. It's going to take a while, but at some point I want that. So yeah, please look into that if you can afford it, if the content on there is useful for you. I'll send a link to the Patreon here in the stream chat, so you can check it out.
Send a link.
That's right. Cool. And I think with that, I'm looking forward to our next streams. I'm gonna start streaming more regular next month because like beginning of 2025 because I got a secret job that I couldn't pass up. So I'm working on that until New Year's. Yeah, but other than that, I hope you all have a great time. We will probably see each other before New Year's again. Yeah, and thanks for joining. I'll see you soon. Bye bye. 2025 secrets are being revealed. Not yet.